So Thor Love and Thunder has been out for quite a bit of time now, and I felt like it was appropriate to finally make a video expressing my thoughts as to why I do not like this movie. And I'm not saying that on this just for the sake of being like contrarian or anything like that. As a matter of fact, a lot of my Marvel reviews and stuff like that recently have been a lot more negative than what they've been prior. As a matter of fact, you guys, if you guys stuck with the channel since the beginning, you guys know a lot of the Marvel movies I was very supportive of. Now, a lot of them just seem very rushed, and they are rushed. And I'll also get into that here in a second, but if you guys like this video, or if you guys like my content, make sure you guys subscribe down below and hit the bell icon. It will notify you whenever I have a new upload that is released. Now, from what I've seen in a recent article, the Marvel, and this is something I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. And I knew it once they did all the Phase 4 announcements. I knew that this was going to be a big problem because once COVID hit, it just made everything worse. So they announced that all these projects are going to be coming out, like, you know, movie, TV show, movie, TV show, movie, TV show. And they had all these projects lined up. This is not giving the VFX artists and people who are making the VFX enough time to like correct a lot of the VFX shots and a lot of the stuff. So the CG in a lot of the Marvel movies have either been very meh or to the point of just being bad. And that's been this movie. Like a lot of movies, you know, I gave a little bit of a pass with No Way Home. I was like, there's some moments in there where I was like, that looks rough, but overall still okay. But this movie looked awful. Thor Love and Thunder just looked awful. The entire time you could tell that everything was green screen. It was just bad, and I don't blame the VFX artists at all for this. I actually blame the studio for trying to rush everything. What they should do is actually delay a lot of stuff so people actually have the time they need to actually make the stuff look great. But they're not doing that, and that's frustrating to me, honestly. So now that I got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this movie overall as to why I do not like this movie. There's not going to be a ton of editing in this video, just showing images here and there and a little bit of footage and, you know, obviously music. But this is mostly just a chill conversation premiere video for you guys, just so it feels real. I'm just talking to you guys directly right now, like face to face. So why did I not like this movie? First of all, Taika Waititi. I like him as a director. Ragnarok, I didn't really dig Ragnarok, but I got what he was going for. He was trying to lighten up the character of Thor a bit more since he was darker in his prior two movies. And mostly a darker character. I mean, he has levity with the Avengers, but he's mostly just a darker character, right? So he wanted to bring more levity to the character of Thor. And I get that, but it's now to the point where it's a parody. And that's where I cannot agree with the direction that they've taken the character of Thor. It feels like a big regression of his character up to this point. The first movie was about him discovering what it means to be worthy of that hammer, having a self-discovery story where he becomes better for it, he becomes a better person, and then from there his arc just kind of stops, right? He loses a lot, and then Avengers Endgame picks up his arc and brings him back to the point of him being worthy, right? So now in this movie, they just make him a complete idiot to the point where I'm not laughing with him now. I'm laughing at him in a bad way, like this dude is just stupid. And this movie overall is like a parody of Thor, like even having like a love triangle between him and his hammer and his axe, which I wouldn't have a problem with that they did it a little bit, but they had it throughout the entire movie to the point where it was a running joke that just did not work for me. Or the points where he just does dumb stuff, like, you know, tells the kids, yes, you know, you guys would die honorably and die and live in this place up above in higher heavens and stuff. I'm like, why are you telling this to kids? You know, like, this is the type of stuff that I'm like, this Thor just kind of seems like a buffoon. And he acts like a buffoon the entire movie. Like, even when he's fighting at the beginning, it's very cartoonish. Like, he even does, like, the splits move where he's holding two ships together with his legs. And you can tell the VFX in that shot just looked really, really bad. And it's just, I just did not dig a lot of what they were doing with the Thor character in this movie. And it's a shame, because Chris Hemsworth is a great actor. And he has been the, you know, as far as we're concerned, the only Thor. But I just wish they did more with him, and I wish that they didn't go in the direction they went with him, because honestly, that affects the overall tone in the movie. The overall tone of the movie is actually very, very silly, which ultimately offsets the darker tones that they try to go with. I'll talk about gore in a minute, but Jane Foster, she has cancer in this movie, and she becomes the mighty Thor. And with that storyline, you would expect it to be a little bit more of a deep storyline, which they address the deepness of it here and there closer to the end, when she ultimately sacrifices herself to save Thor and help save everyone, right? Which, by the way, that was one of the other scenes I actually did like in the movie. Like scenes like that where they allowed scenes to breathe are the moments that I like the most in the movie. But they treat the cancer storyline like it's nothing. Because the movie is such a parody, it doesn't allow anything to really breathe. And when things finally do breathe, it doesn't feel quite as earned. And so, really, with the whole Jane storyline, I felt like Deadpool treated a cancer storyline better than this movie did. And that's not a good sign. That's really not. I mean, I like Natalie Portman in this movie. She gives the best performance in all the movies, but they don't really give much to her character, in my opinion. I am glad that they didn't make her a Mary Sue. I'm also very glad that they didn't have her take the overall spotlight from Thor, either. Like, she wasn't just, like, automatically better than him or anything, you know, like how a lot of people get frustrated with female superheroes and stuff, but they found a good balance with her. I will give that as a compliment to the movie, but it's just her overall storyline just did not feel fulfilling, and honestly, just a big letdown for the movie, especially since, like I said, this movie, it's like a parody. You try to have this deep storyline that just does not mesh well. Same thing with Gore, who I was promised to talk about next. Gore, honestly, just, like, I had high hopes for this. They got my man Christian Bale, legendary actor, and they did absolutely nothing with him, and it's a shame, man. And from what I understand, they cut out a ton of footage, and I have two guesses. Number one, Taika Waititi wanted to keep a very fast tone, make it very silly, and the other thing, I think that there were scenes that were going to be VFX heavy, and I bet that they just didn't want to add those VFX, so they cut out a lot of stuff. Which ultimately, I will say that's another problem I had with this movie, because this film also felt choppy, and I think I noticed those hours gone. When I was watching it, I was like, a lot of stuff feels missing. And when you guys watch the movie, or if you've already seen the movie, watch out for that, because you guys will see what I'm talking about when it comes to that. I'm getting a drink of water. Sorry, my throat gets like really, really dry whenever I'm talking for a while. But with Gore, the best scene of Gore to me was not when he was in his horrifying form, which, by the way, the makeup work in Christian Bale really good. Wish they did more with it. The beginning scene when he is with his daughter and they're praying and nobody comes to help. His daughter dies and he goes into the forest and the god's laughing at him, mocking him, saying, hey, if y'all people die, then you guys die. There's going to be tons of other people who worship me anyways. Very deep scene, and Christian Bale is acting in that scene. He plays that emotional switch very well. Very deep moment for his character, and it felt like the movie was almost about to prove me wrong. I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks average. That moment, I was thinking to myself, oh shoot, maybe this movie's going to prove me wrong. It did not play out the way I thought it would. He got the sword that can kill gods, right? And you would think that with a name like Gore the God Butcher, you would see him actually butcher some gods. But you didn't. And that was also a big letdown, because I felt like that could have also made his villain more terrifying, or given him a little bit more moments to kind of shine a bit more, rather than showing up, making shadow creatures, having them attack him, and just kind of getting beaten up and running away, right? It just didn't do much for me. Overall, they try to tell this story that's deep for him, and it's just very choppy, doesn't mesh well with the parody setting that this is within, and they just did not do a good job with them. Wishing his daughter back at the end like that felt very unearned, I wish that he had more interactions with Thor, so that way he realizes, oh shoot, this guy's maybe not as bad as they say. That way he could have a reason for him to actually trust his daughter to be with Thor to take care of her. But I don't write the script, right? So also the other thing that I was thinking to myself too was that there are things and concepts that they're introduced in this movie that just kind of affect the overall MCU as a whole. Because they do this now in more modern MCU movies where they introduce newer concepts and newer ideas that were apparently around for a while. And then you're just looking and you're like, well, where was this when this was going on? Like, for example, they need the Bifrost to go to the edge of time, right? To kind of affect everything and change some things, right? Or at least Gore needs that. And his wish is that he wants to kill all gods, which he changed at the end to bring his daughter back. Why didn't Thor, at the end of Infinity War, travel there and wish for everybody who was hit with a snap to come back? See, this is what the type of stuff that bothers me in this movie, and they introduce a lot of interesting concepts that ultimately just don't do anything for the MCU and actually make it a lot worse. Also, the comedy in this movie, like I said, just way too much. Like I said, very parody. And the comedy actually gets very, very annoying at a point. Just really, really annoying. It is like screaming goats. The screaming goats were funny for 3 scenes. Then when they just kept going with them, I'm like, this is getting annoying, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Also, I just want to say, I remember when I was talking about some of the woke elements in this movie. There's not a bunch in here, honestly. Not really. But there are a couple of things that they do. Obviously, Tessa Thompson is pushing for some stuff in the MCU, which doesn't feel natural, doesn't feel like it really is needed. Now, if they want to throw that stuff in there, okay, fine. But have a good overall story to go along with it, right? And it's not a good overall story to go along with it, so I'm not willing to let this go. At all. They definitely did something with Korg that I didn't like. Like they said he had 2 dads, and I'm just like, see, this is the type of stuff Disney is pushing now, and I don't hate it. But also, if you're gonna do stuff like that, do it in a way that feels natural, so I can just kind of just ignore it. But when the movie's already so bad, that's just like another thing that just kind of adds on to it. For me personally, so it just didn't, like, I didn't enjoy those scenes, and they just threw it in there just to kind of throw it in there. It's almost like they think about these things before they actually write the script. Like, how are we going to throw these moments in here before we actually write the script? It just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like it just flowed with the scenes. It was just like, oh yeah, by the way, I have 2 dads. There's your empowerment moment right there. Not natural, not really needed. Also, like I said, the visual effects just did not look good. I wish they really got their time. And yeah, trying to think of what else I can cover in this, because I don't feel like really talking about this movie too much, honestly. Phase 4 has been a big letdown, man. It really has. And I wish they would do something that really has me go, wow, besides No Way Home. And even No Way Home, I'm not like a lot of people were saying, like, this is the best Spider-Man movie. No, that's number 3 for me. Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse, No Way Home. In that order, literally. So, to answer a question, I set a poll on my Instagram to ask this question, and I got a couple of questions. Number 1, was the CGI really that bad? Yes, the CGI was that bad. When you watch the movie, it's just a lot of floating behind them in the backgrounds and stuff like that. A lot of shots just do not match up, especially when they get to Olympus. My God, those shots look terrible. And the stuff with like the goats, they just looked really off. They didn't look like they were, even the CGI modeling didn't even look like it was there with the CGI modeling. Like, that's how bad it got at times, man. Also, the other question I got was, did they like make Thor a woman? No, they're not trying to replace Thor. Although I wish, if they're going to kill off Natalie Portman's character, which is another problem I had with the movie, keep her dead. But nobody ever dies in these movies. Like, when I saw her up in this place where Heimdall is at, I'm like, they're going to bring her back. So I'm just like, Like, it just feels like there's no consequence to death anymore. Which ultimately, and I even remember they tried to fake us out with going, oh, Korg's not dead. I'm like, I literally went to the theater with somebody and I looked over at him and I said, he'll be back. 5 seconds later, he's back. Oh yeah, guys, I'm alive. I'm just a face now. No death, no consequences to death. But yes, getting back on track to the question. No, they're not trying to make Thor a lady. And trying to think what were the other questions. I mean, I wish I would pull them up on my phone, but I don't really feel like talking about this movie too much, honestly. If you guys like the movie, I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with you. I mean, it's Marvel. If you guys like it, then you like it. I mean, if you like Ragnarok too, then this definitely follows in suit of Ragnarok. It like follows after like the next evolution, right, to be more comedic. But if you're looking for like scenes that are actually gonna make you feel something, this movie is not going to make you feel anything. It's just going to have you laugh the entire time and just get out, right? And none of the action scenes were memorable. And it's just, I would even argue that this is one of the worst of Phase 4. That's a hot take, but it is, in my opinion. Is it absolute garbage dumpster fire? No, it's definitely not garbage dumpster fire, but it's nothing I'm going to rewatch ever. And Marvel really needs to get together, because you're losing a fan base, and I'm even starting to go to the point where I'm like, I'm probably going to skip out on a lot of stuff. So thank you guys very much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys watching this premiere. I love all of you. I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the spoiler review. And what are you guys' thoughts on Love and Thunder? It's been very mixed for a lot of people. And what are you guys' thoughts on the MCU going forward? Is it going in the right direction, or is it going in a direction that maybe you would just question? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you guys like this premiere, make sure you guys subscribe today to join the Isolation.